Are you a business owner looking to grow your business in South Africa? Tune in to the Blaze Podcast with Telkom Business. Learn from the experts and get tips on marketing, finance, innovation, and more. Blaze with Telkom Business.
Greetings and welcome to our educational session on the critical role that digital solutions play in helping small and medium-sized businesses as they begin their journey towards digital transformation. We'll talk about how crucial it is to use digital tools and tactics to propel your company's expansion, productivity, and creativity today. Let's get started and learn how adapting digital solutions can change your SME's future. Today's guest is an amazing guest. Randall Abrams, Group Executive, Digital Solutions.
How are you?
I'm very well. How are you?
Wonderful to be here.
Thank you so much. Why is digital transformation essential for SMEs in today's business landscape?
Well, you know, when you're starting a business, your biggest challenge, the one that everybody faces, is cash flow. So you have to feel comfortable in terms of having solutions across, multiple streams, cybersecurity, payroll, whatever it may be, so that you can really focus on your own business and how you're going to develop that business. The other thing is that you're going to want to have tools that ultimately are easy to utilize, that your staff are going to buy into, that you feel absolutely sure about. Cybersecurity is a really, really big element, and that makes it easier to manage your business and ultimately to scale your business. Because two things happen with SMMEs. Number one, cash flow issues. So people will work, really, really hard just to make sure that they're keeping the lights on.
Absolutely.
Then they get to a situation, where they're becoming profitable, but it's so easy at that exact point to plateau. So then you've got to have a solution that's going to allow you to scale. And, it's almost, I don't want to say it's absolutely, but it's almost impossible to run a business without these sorts of digital solutions.
Yeah, and you're talking about scale and growth at the highest of levels. What are some of the common challenges that SMEs face when they're initiating that digital transformation journey and really starting to be conscious about how those digital tools can help them change the way their businesses work? So,
I don't want to say you get two kinds of people, but maybe I'll break it down. You get people who are absolutely, enthralled by technology. They want the latest computer. They want the latest mobile phone. They want to see what apps there are out there. They read about it. They're informed. And then on the other hand, I think, the majority of people are not necessarily that, while they may live in a digital universe, it doesn't mean that they're ultimately embracing that digital universe. Yeah. And it can be difficult. What sort of solutions do you go for? What product is going to be around in the next 3 to 5 years? These are not easy decisions to be made, especially when you've invested your own capital or you've got a loan from a family member, from a bank. And those are the things that you have to focus on. You have to focus on what your business does best and, who your competitors in your specific area are. So, it's not everybody that's going to rush out and say, oh, well, I know exactly which 3 solutions I should look at. This is the provider I'm going to get, and this is how to move forward. And in that case, it's a good idea to either find someone who you trust, who can give you that sort of advice and expertise, or at least to spend a little time doing some of your own reading so that you are comfortable.
Yeah. And how do SMEs think about, the challenges that they have in their businesses and how digital solutions can actually help solve those problems as well?
Well, let's take 2 common areas. So let's take communication and collaboration. So how are they going to engage with suppliers, for example? Or how are they going to be able to streamline processes inside their business? And last but by no means least, the marketing of that business. So what are they going to do in the realm of the Google, the Facebook, the WhatsApp, the TikTok? What are they going to have to know in order to communicate their product to those customers? 10, 20 years ago, you had limited solutions from the point of view of advertising and communication,
Yep.
right? You'd send an email, you would advertise in a newspaper or broadsheet, there'd be some community newspaper that would do the rounds, and that's where the majority of people find themselves. Now, the landscape's obviously exploded, and they've now got to think about the choices they're going to make within that landscape. The only advice that I would have is the sooner you put your toe in the water, the better it ultimately is going to be, because everybody else is there. And I think the nugget there is you've got to fish where the fish are. You know, that I always keep that in mind. I always think to myself, where are our clients and how do they feel comfortable about how we communicate and engage with them?
Yeah. That's such an important point, really understanding your customers and their needs and then matching that to the solution that you need to be able to run your business better as well.
Well, let's go back again to 20 years ago. I mean, what ads would you see? Plumber, phone number, electrician,
yeah,
the end, am I right?
Yeah.
Now you can find a service that helms all those different services in one digital, small, tiny universe, am I right? And you can go there and feel comfortable. The other thing that you can do, so let's say, for example, you hired a plumber 20 years ago. You read about them in the newspaper, and let's say the experience wasn't great. What would you do? You would, I don't know, you could write a letter to the newspaper or something like that. You could put something on a website. There were websites that did. You remember Hello Peter. But simply you would say, I'm never going to use this individual again. And you would tell your family and friends, whatever you do, they'd say, didn't someone come and, do something in your bathroom? And you say, never hire that person.
Yeah.
Now, businesses are being measured, and also they should have tools in order to measure themselves in terms of their own success and their own value. Especially from a scalability point of view. If you've got 2 or 3 employees, you can almost meet with them on a daily or at least a weekly basis. It's very easy, right? But what happens when you've got 50 employees, 100 employees? How are you going to keep track of those processes? How are you going to ensure that you're getting feedback, you're getting output from them, and you're getting feedback from your clientele in terms of what your business is about and what you're trying to achieve? Yeah. So you're not going to be possible to meet with 50 people every day or even once a week.
Yeah. And that's where the digital solutions come in, to really be able to, communicate effectively,
Absolutely.
Collaborate effectively as well.
And help in your decision making.
Yeah.
Again, ultimately, it's your business. And the success of that business is ultimately up to you. You're the person that's invested the capital, got a loan. You're the person who is focusing it on a daily basis, has sleepless nights about cash flow. So you're going to be the one ultimately making the decision. But wouldn't you want the best tools in order to make those decisions? So for example, you go out, think about a digital solution, because as I say, for some people it's a little bit of a bridge too far sometimes. But you buy a motor vehicle, right? Even one that's 10 years old. It has digital solutions.
It does.
Right? It can tell you all sorts of things about the car and what's wrong and what you need to know, etc., etc. What would you have known 20, 30 years ago? The oil and whether or not the water was full and what the petrol tank said to you, right?
Yeah.
Now you've got an entire diagnostic world just inside your motor vehicle. And that's, I guess, how you should see it. That's how simple it is and can be. It doesn't have to be overwhelming.
That's true. Just to focus on, one part of this sort of digital, ecosystem of tools and the transformation that all businesses need to make, what role does cloud-based solutions play in digital transformation for SMEs specifically?
So we spoke a little bit earlier about scalability, and I'd like to return to that if I may. The challenge, as I say, for most businesses is you spend 3 years getting off the ground, and it's hard slog, right? You literally are making sure that the water's running and that the lights remain on, right? I'm sure that we've all heard stories where that hasn't happened, but some very, very wealthy people who've had very successful businesses will tell you that they went through the same 3-year cycle.
Yeah.
Right. Then things start to take off, right? You've used whatever tools you invested in, and things are going really well. But suddenly, the challenge with scale is it's not necessarily, this kind of graph. It doesn't just naturally move.
It's not gradual.
It's not gradual. Could be a situation where you have a hockey stick and actually it does this and then it does that. Now, everybody will say, or not everybody, but a lot of people would say, what I have to worry about is when things are going
Down.
this way. I would say absolutely, but also think about this, because you'd hate to go there and stop there, right? You want a hockey stick, right? You don't want a U. And that is where cloud technology and the fact that you have access within an as-a-service opportunity where you aren't, directly linked and molded and chained towards to a specific solution, and you can move throughout that cloud environment. You can move to other opportunities and other options as they become necessary for your business. So that is definitely something, again, something to consider. But again, for people that work in the realm of digital solutions, business solutions, it's easy for them to say, jump on the cloud. Again, we really have to think about it from our own consumers' point of view. What do they know about the cloud? How can we educate them? How can we, for me, simplifying the cloud is my message. Because unfortunately, tech people, there are people who are into cars. I'm sure you've got a friend who's into cars, and he or she can tell you everything you need to know, right? The wheel pressure and what year the car was released and why it's a classic, and they've got 10 mechanics they can call on for various elements of the motor vehicle. You and I just want to get in and drive and make sure we arrive on time, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's up to us to also simplify, and also to the business owner, as I said earlier, or people inside the business, to help them simplify and have a basic understanding. Because again, as I say, you're going to be an expert in the area of business that you're in. That's what your customers expect.
Yep.
But at the same time, take running a restaurant, for example. You're going to have some point of sale system. You're going to have some sort of cybersecurity, make your customers feel that they're in a secure environment. And you're going to have that sort of tracking in order to easily measure, what your return on investment on a particular plate of food is, from an alcohol point of view, from a Coca-Cola point of view, etc., etc.
Yeah. The way you're speaking about it is just around, whether it's at the beginning or just like when that growth happens, these digital solutions and these tools are really meant to help, one, with scalability, but also building systems in the businesses themselves.
Absolutely.
So that they operate at a higher, efficiency. How important does that efficiency element become as that growth happens?
Well, I think that, we know in South Africa we all are cognizant of the macroeconomy at the moment, right? It's tough out there, and if you are someone, as I say, who's got an SME, you've been around either for a few years or you're just kicking off, you're going to recognize that growing your client base is one element of your success, your continued success, but also being able to ensure that your own business is efficient, and that just with your current base, you are maximizing your outputs. It's going to be absolutely essential, because margins, and we've, again, I mentioned earlier this question of cash flow, you're going to have to be able to measure your margins very, very carefully, especially when the consumer is under such pressure. And you may, for a period of time, either the next year, 18 months, even 24 months, be in a position where you're not going to be able to grow your base that quickly. and you're going to have to rely on the customers that you have. So that means, as I say, you're going to have to serve them better than you've been doing, and therefore the efficiencies in your business, you're going to have to constantly be improving those.
Absolutely. Just to go back to the example that you made around, advertising or marketing your business in a newspaper. I mean, I'm too young for that part of things, but
sadly, I'm not. But we won't discuss it.
In this new age, where you have countless platforms and methods to really reach customers, how can SMEs, leverage digital marketing strategies to expand their reach and attract customers, even in difficult times like this?
So, that's a really good question, because I'd like you to think back, and you're old enough to think back about this, right? But how long have Reels been around on YouTube, for example? Not that long.
No, I think it's about 6 months, maybe 9 months, but yeah.
So TikTok really changed the world from that point of view, right? Yeah. If you said you'd gone to YouTube, the one thing that it did, it allowed content publishers to have an opportunity to publish what they want, right? So you wouldn't necessarily have to go into, if you wanted to be a broadcaster, you could start your own show. I follow a lot of people in the CD and vinyl community. You've got these individuals who were completely unknown 24 months ago and now have rapidly grown their following. And they're just, normal individuals. I follow a lady by the name of Melinda. She's getting into hi-fi, she's getting into music, she loves Van Halen, and suddenly she's got lots and lots of followers, right? The challenge, of course, with the democratization of the digital media landscape is, of course, you've got how many clips are uploaded to YouTube every single day?
Millions.
TikTok, right? And you've got to stand out amongst that. So again, you've got to start thinking of platforms that ultimately are going to work for you. Where is there an environment where, can I do something on TikTok that will make me stand out? And how should I find myself inside a universe on a platform such as Yep, where people are naturally going to go in order to look at my services? So that's just like a dual-natured consideration of marketing. Am I going to want to go into a space such as TikTok, where I'm up against BTS dancers, or up against Tyler and people singing Water? Can I really stand out and make a mark there? Because if I do, I'm going to get, a huge amount of success and following and people, getting eyeballs on what I'm doing. Yeah. And on the other hand, how am I going to balance that in order to be successful in the natural environment of a platform such as Yep, where individuals are really going to look for the types of services I have?
Yeah. And how does a business really, make that decision across these different platforms to say, this platform is probably better for, as a plumber, as an electrician, as a tradesman, versus, say, a digital business on, digital marketing or something like that? How do you make that decision to say, I need to look through my business and understand what our strengths are and what our services are, and that other people are actually looking for them, rather than competing with dancers like you mentioned?
Sure. Look, again, marketing strategies, if they were that easy, then I guess everybody would be doing it, right? So it's something it's something where you need a little bit of expertise. But again, I've been saying, businesses are obviously focused on what they're good at. So either find an agency or a partner that can assist you, but at the very least, you have the internet. You're going to have to, in the modern world, do at least a little bit of research in terms of what might be your best bet, as I say, in terms of all the digital services and products that you're going to need, how and when you're going to have to engage from a scalability point of view, and last but by no means least, from a marketing point of view. And as I say, it doesn't have to be, you don't have to go into it with a high degree of trepidation. It's a very exciting world. And it's also a world where, unfortunately, your competition if you're not going to go there, if you're not going to research, if you're not going to find a good partner, if you're not going to endure, how are you going to go about that when that's what your competition are doing?
Yeah.
So, for example, if you take the world of analytics, sports teams such as Barcelona, they'll set up cameras at little teams around the world, for example, and they'll be able to ingest all the analytics about the players there. So before they're making a decision about, which 8-year-old should be brought across to the academy, they've got all this analytics that a team then can have oversight of and can make decisions about a particular player that they're bringing. Right up to the professional level, when they're going out, any of the English Premier League teams or any big sports team around the world, before they're making a decision, they're going through the analysis of a particular player before saying that's going to work within our team. So even top sports teams are making decisions and are engaging in efficiencies using digital tools. So the coaches will be able to say, this is how fast you've run, this is how far you've run, this is how many tackles you've made, this is how many assists. And that level of analytics, by the way, is going to be at your and my fingertips within the next, I would say, 3 to 5 years. I think there's going to be, the way that you see applications now focusing on scores, for example, I think that's going to change. I think, especially with AI and what we've seen so far, you're going to be able to watch a football match, a hockey game, a basketball game, and be able to very, very quickly see the types of stats that these major franchises have access to. That's what you're going to be engaging with in the next 3 to 5 years.
Yeah. How important, just to piggyback off of what you're saying, how important does data and analytics become when you're running your business and understanding just the effects of each part of your business and the numbers that govern each part of your business? When you're looking for efficiency, how important does that become to really understand?
So, great question. I was about to go there.
Okay.
And what I'm trying to do is to say, in terms of your motor vehicle, your favorite sports team, can you see how exciting digital solutions are? So imagine what it could do for your business. It's going to be invaluable. And I don't think, you don't want to make every decision based on data. We imagine that you know your business better than anybody else, right? So if you've got all the data about how to mix the perfect ice cream, that's fine, but usually something happens in the kitchen and there's a mistake and it turns out really, really well and you discover something. But you would at best want to have that data and that framework of analytics, as I say, whichever product you go for and whichever product you feel is best in your business, to have that level of analytics, knowledge, etc., so that it can inform you, right? Because again, your competition, in all likelihood, is going to have that level of insight.
Yeah.
And that's really about it. Ultimately, the decision is yours, but rather than going and making decisions, completely devoid of information, completely devoid of analysis, don't suffer analysis paralysis. I've got all this information. Where do I go next, and what do I do? But at the very least, have analysis that allows you to know these are the key levers in the business. If I pull these or I stop them, ultimately this is the outcome.
Yeah. You were mentioning just like the two types of people, one person being an early adopter, loves the technology, is always going to look for the best tools. And then someone else that's a lot more hesitant, maybe a lot more traditional, running their business in a very analog way. How does that transition look like for someone to go from here to here in a smooth way that doesn't disrupt their sort of day-to-day operations? So how can SMEs ensure a smooth transition to using these digital solutions to really run their businesses better?
It's a very good question. I was listening to someone on the radio just the other day, and they were saying, in the digital realm, what skills are going to be necessary in order for you to move forward in the next 5 to 10 years? So are coding skills going to be important? And the person said, necessarily sure that those are the skills, the initial skills that are going to be necessary. What in fact is going to be necessary is to have critical skills of analysis and understanding of the platforms so that you know what to plug in when. Because is coding ultimately going to be the future of computing? Having an analytical framework might be a little more important. So the questions you've got to ask yourself, the first two questions I would ask is, where is technology going to make the most significant gain for my business? And as I say, that could be growth, that could be efficiency, that could be analytics, that could be a combination of those elements, right? And secondly, where is technology potentially going to have the most negative impact on my business? So where, for example, might I find resistance to technology inside the business? And those are the questions that only the business owner can ask themselves. But they're absolutely critical to have really drilled down and applied your mind. You know, it's not necessary that the newest, sexiest piece of tech is going to work for you.
Yeah.
Because again, only you are going to know your business well enough in order to make those decisions.
Yeah, thank you for that. I think it's a very important answer. Just finally, what are some of the success stories of SMEs that have embraced digital transformation and really, really used it effectively as well?
It's a very good question. So I guess we're never going to see Jeff Bezos as an SME, right?
No, I don't think.
I'm certainly not going to say it live because then, you know, I might just need a loan from him someday. But he was an SME, right? He was in the book business, right? And at a stage he said, I'm going to use technology in order to more efficiently and at a lower price point, because I have these efficiencies, I'm going to sell books, right? Bricks and mortar cost a lot of money. It's challenging because, you know, try and keep a warehouse of every book written. It's not that easy, right? So decisions that are made, you know, by experts inside a bookseller, you know, they have to make really critical decisions about what they keep on the shelf, right? Because, you know, space, the final frontier. So he then said, well, if I could efficiently provide access to a world of individuals, literally the globe, who are interested in books, right? I don't need to then have to make a decision about which books I'm going to stock. It's a very important point of the business. Second point of the business was, how can I most efficiently deliver? What systems and processes am I going to need in order to provide? Because it's easy enough to click on your iPad and say, you know, the latest, well, I went to see Dune the other day, so I want to reread the novel. I'll press a button and, you know, the book will be delivered to me. But behind the scenes, behind my clicking and receiving the book 3 days later, there are a whole lot of systems that are going to have to be managed. Yeah. Especially in this case, I'm out of territory. So, you know, there's going to have to be a partnership with an international courier service. And they're going to have back-end services which are managing duties, shipping costs, all those sorts of things. So if you think about it, as I say, from the point of view of when Amazon were a bookseller and an SME, you know, he started the business in his garage, as you know. And the types of digital systems, efficiencies, etc., that were necessary in order to grow that business to where it is now, then, you know, that's potentially a way of thinking about digital solutions and services.
Yeah. I've really appreciated this conversation. I think,
Thank you so much.
I hope SMEs have really seen the importance of, you know, the digital solutions to help them be a lot more efficient drive that efficiency in their businesses, especially in difficult times, but also, seeing how it can impact their scale as well. Is there a final thought from you just to, advise an SME out there that's going, I understand what you guys are saying, but I'm scared. I don't know. I've been running my business for 20 years on my notepad for all the transactions and things like that.
If I may, right? A long time ago, you had different technologies in television, and I'm sure that if you followed the tech, there's always some sense of what the best technology for television is.
Yeah.
But let's say that in the last 20 years, right, we'll take it for granted that the technology in a television has improved, and in fact the cost has come down. Right? You've got OLED televisions now. You had, not that long ago, you had plasma televisions.
Yep.
Right? Now, two things. Number one, is OLED better than plasma? I don't know. That's up to the viewer and the analytics around it. But that technology is not sustained anymore. So if you had a plasma television, good luck trying to get it fixed, right?
Yeah.
OLED technology moved forward, cost efficiencies, the cost has come down, etc., etc. It's a very simple example of the fact that technology moves. And it's a technology that everybody's aware of. Obviously, the majority of people don't ask, what kind of technology is this, or how does it work, etc., etc. They're like, oh, that's a great picture, it's better than the picture on that one, and it costs less, good, I'm in. I need a new television, decision is made, press a button, it gets delivered to my house, everybody's good, right? Add it to my insurance. So similarly, think about your business in that way. Think about your business in the fact that if it's not possible to sustain technologies that are only a decade or two older, right, and that there's constantly this technology shift, then the sooner you get on the roundabout, the better, right? That's number one. Number two, think about it from the point of view that it's going to give you a greater, higher, pixelated view of your own business and help you to see things and frame things that you may not have been able to do without the technology. Yeah. The technology is only good if you are buying the technology or investing in the technology simply to tell your friends, oh, I've got this and I've got cloud this and blah, blah, blah. Well, I mean, if you want to do that, please go ahead. We like your business.
Yeah.
But think about it from the point of view of how you are getting a better view of your own business, assisting in making better, more informed decisions. Think about it from that point of view. And if you still feel this degree of trepidation, go slow. Use one or two solutions. I said earlier, think about the ones that are going to give you highest return on investment, and think about the ones where you're going to have, potentially from your own staff, the highest resistance. And simply get in there. I can guarantee that after a very, very short space of time, you'll understand your business a lot better. You'll be able to make decisions a lot better and a lot more efficiently. And then, move from there. So small steps initially, and then, as I say, constant review of your business and what the necessities are, and then a plan for the medium term.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I've really appreciated our conversation.
Great. Thank you.
As we conclude today's insightful discussion on the importance of digital solutions for SMEs during their digital transformation journey, we hope you've gained valuable insights to power your business. Remember, embracing digital solutions is key to unlocking growth and success in today's competitive landscape. Thank you for joining us, and stay tuned for more educational content to support your entrepreneurial journey. Thank you.